Thrive Nation, on today's show, we're interviewing Chris Norton. Chris is the author of the new book, The 7 Longest Yards, our love story of pushing the limits while learning on each other. The foreword of the book is written by the legendary Tim Tebow. But Paul Hood, why should everybody listen to today's show?
Everybody should listen to today's show because it's a story of overcoming, and there's so much stuff that's going on in people's lives, and it's so easy to just give up. This is a great story to get you out of that funk.
A lot of people, after having a spinal injury and becoming paralyzed, would have given up. But that's not what today's guest did. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the Chris Norton story.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
Now, 3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, we are interviewing Chris Norton. Chris, welcome onto the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
I am doing great. I am here in the Midwest, and it's so much cooler here than it is in South Florida.
I'd love for you to share with the listeners about your book, the 7 Longest Yards. What's that book all about, and what inspired you to write that thing?
Yeah, so the 7 Longest Yards is about my journey going from a spinal cord injury playing college football, a 3% chance, to then 7 years later walking my bride 7 yards down the aisle of our wedding. And that happened back in April. But it's just that journey in between of going from just nothing below the neck, just life feeling over, to then, living this dream wedding with my dream girl and walking side by side with her help. And so the 7 yards marks the 7 yards that we walked in the 7 years.
Wow.
What position did you play when you played football?
I played free safety. I loved to hit people. I wasn't afraid of anyone, although I was undersized. And so I was back in the middle of the field, furthest back, and I loved that position to play. The run game, the pass game, you kind of mix it up back there.
Where did you play football at?
I played at Luther College, just a small college in northeast Iowa.
Yeah.
And it was on the kickoff, actually. So I was running down the side of the field as fast as I could go, and I saw the opening coming and the ball carrier running through. I just made a diving play at his legs and just mistimed my jump just by a split second. So instead of getting my head in front of the ball carrier, my head collides right with his legs. In an instant, I just lose everything from my neck down.
Did you know right away something was really, really wrong?
I didn't. I was naive. I was 18 years old. I'm thinking, nothing bad can happen to me. Like, I'll be all right. Like, I'm completely conscious at this point. It wasn't like a loud, banging play or a ooh from the crowd. It was nothing like, if you watched it, you wouldn't think anything bad happened as a result. And I'm just laying there motionless. I'm just thinking, well, this is embarrassing. I can't get up off the field. Like, just give it more time and I'll get off the field. I'm thinking it's a bad stinger. But obviously as time went on and nothing was changing, that's when it started to sink in that this is bad.
What's a bad stinger? I think some listeners don't know what a bad stinger is.
Yeah, it's just pretty much like a pinched nerve. Like if you, like a Novocaine shot, you numb your mouth and it kind of wakes up. It's just like a numbing feeling throughout your body, and it's hard to move your body or feel anything. So I'm thinking it's just one of those stingers that's just a little bit more severe, and it usually comes back after like a minute, and your sensation, your movement. But obviously this was much more than a stinger.
Do you recall what you were thinking when you were being taken off the field?
Yeah, I was at the time. I was terrified. I had my eyes closed because the reality of the situation was sinking in. I didn't want to accept it. I thought if I could just close my eyes and just block this out from happening, maybe just it wouldn't be real. I don't know. It was the only control I had at the time. And I was terrified. Something that I'll never forget too, as I'm being on the stretcher, I'm being pushed across the field, the crowd begins to clap. I mean, that's just typical in sporting events. You cheer and clap for the injured athlete. But then it's typical for the athlete, you acknowledge the crowd with a thumbs up. And I'm thinking, I have to let them know that I'm going to be okay. I have to give them a thumbs up. So I try lifting my arm up to give a thumbs up, and I didn't move a thing. Mm-hmm. Nothing was responding. And my joke, though, now is that if I could have gone back to that moment, I would have liked to have been the first athlete to ever give a thumbs down. Like, that's not looking good. Everybody can quit clapping now.
Now,
if you ever see an athlete do that, that was my idea. Okay, let's give credit where credit's due.
Amen.
Now, your lady friend, now wife, was she there at that game?
She was not. We actually met 3 years after my injury, and we met online.
Really? Now, did you? So you actually walked across the stage for your college graduation. Am I correct with that? Did you walk across the stage?
Yes, I did. That was like our first big walk, and that video went viral, over 300 million views.
300 million views. So what did it feel like seeing 300 million people, or realizing that 300 million people had watched that video, and that video in some way had impacted them?
It was mind-blowing. We never expected a response like that. I mean, a big motivation for me was to get my life back. I was training because I wanted to walk independently. It was a lot about myself, and I thought it would be cool as well to inspire a few people. And then the fact that I ended up, really needed a lot of help to get across the stage and inspiring a ton of people, it gave me so much more purpose for my life. It allowed me to use my pain for purpose. And after that moment, it clicked. I knew exactly what I needed to do the rest of my life. And that's to inspire people, give people hope, because we received thousands of messages from people all over the world who are hurting, who are struggling, and they needed the glimmer of hope that they too can persevere through their own challenges. And so by me being an example for other people, that's ultimately what inspired us to then walk the 7 yards down the aisle of our wedding, knowing there's an opportunity to give hope to the hopeless.
Now, Chris, I have a question for you, but then Paul's going to one-up me with a really good question. But
here it comes.
Doing my research, it appears as though you have many children. How many children do you have?
A lot, yeah. I have 5 girls that we adopted, and we also have a female dog, so I am completely outnumbered by females. But yeah, through foster care and then to adoption, we've had 5, and then we've also fostered 17 children.
So you have 5 kids that live with you right now, or 17, or what's the number who are living with you right now?
5 kids are living with us. So we adopted the 5 girls, and then as also being foster parents, we also have kids that come and go. So we did have another 2 girls, sibling group of 2 girls with us. So we did have 7 girls, and the girls, that's just like coincidence. Not that we're against boys. It just happens to be groups of girls.
Wow. Okay. Now, Paul Hood here. We're interviewing a guy who has just inspired so many people. You're a football guy, Paul. This is a football guy.
Yeah.
What question would you have for Mr. Chris Norton?
Well, I got a question. I was going to ask you, do you think that the craziness with being surrounded by so many girls was a result of your injury? But we'll ask a serious question. What do you think that in your background, was there something in your background that you can point to that gave you the initial strength? Because so many people would just give up. And just before you even realized your role in this life was to inspire people, and you still didn't give up. Was there something in your past, in your upbringing, in your faith that just kept you going?
Yeah, definitely my foundation of faith. That gave me this hope that there's like a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, that there's something possible even with this complete devastation around me. So that gave me a sense of confidence to keep going. And then also just being a student athlete, just having failed over and over again, having practices and workouts where you didn't think you could finish, but you finished. You had games where you didn't think you could come back, but you came back. And just having that experience just taught me to work hard and to keep going even when it's not easy. So it was just that experience and that self, and then always taking responsibility over my life. So although I didn't choose to be in this situation, I never won this spinal cord injury. And although I could point fingers on whose fault it may be, and if it's my fault, I just also just owned up to the fact that this is my life. I have to do something about it. So it was multiple things that came into play, but those are a couple of things that definitely jumped to mind.
Now, your new book, The 7 Longest Yards, the intro of the book is written by Tim Tebow. How do you know Tim Tebow? What's that relationship like?
Yeah, so I knew Tim Tebow from his playing days at Florida, and I'm in the hospital and I'm watching this TV special about like year of the QB of him getting ready for the NFL draft. That was his year of going to the Broncos, and I was really moved by his dedication and his discipline and how hard he was working, and it was inspiring to me. And I just got offhand told my dad, I'm like, I would love to talk to that guy. I'd love to meet him. And my dad, he took that and ran with it behind my back and started through the grapevine just spreading the word that Chris would love to talk to Tim Tebow if anyone has any sort of connection. So of course, like a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend eventually got me connected with Tim, and Tim called me on his personal number, not block or restricted, which I mentioned that because I've had, a lot of players or coaches call me and it was on a restricted number, but this is my personal number. We talked for like 20 minutes. And he said, if you need anything, you text me, you call me, let's stay in touch. And so ever since my accident, we've stayed in touch, and he's been true to his word. And we've been able to meet in person. He even got to meet our girls as well. And he just has always told me, if you ever need anything, let me know. And well, when this book opportunity came about, I asked him, and he willingly did it.
Well, what's interesting about my Tim Tebow bromance is located directly across me. We're in a 20,000 square foot facility, our Thrive Time Show offices, where our team is located. And right in front of me, and Paul, you can verify, there is my Tim Tebow praying on the wall.
There. It's there.
And my wife and I are obsessed with all things Tim Tebow, just the stance he's taken, the right stance he's taken for the right things over and over, even though it wasn't convenient for his career. What is his personality like, when you're up there? I mean, I don't need to, obviously I'm not asking you to divulge any secrets or anything. I'm just saying, but what is his personality like up close? Because he just seems like one of the most truly high character people on the planet.
Exactly. That's was my expectations kind of going into meeting him. And then he exceeded it. Like he just stared, like he just great eye contact. It was very personable and just really wanted to get to know me. And it wasn't hard. It wasn't forced. Like he was just genuinely cared about me and what I had going on. And it just was a very easy conversation, as you can imagine, talking to Tim Tebow. Like he's the real deal. That's where I'm just really honored that he's been such a great support, and it speaks to his character and who he is and everything he's ever done to this point. So he's just a great person.
Hey, if you could convince him to switch to a fullback and come back on the Patriots, that would be awesome. That's all I'm asking for. If you could just use your influence to get him to switch positions and come back and join the Patriots after he settles down the going pro with baseball. Once he gets to the majors, maybe at the age of 35, 36, he'd come back to the Patriots, switch positions. That's all I'm asking for. Now, Chris, in your new book, tell us some of the good things the listeners are going to find in your book. Why should all the listeners go out there and check it out?
I think what's going to be really encouraging is that it's going to be encouraging the fact that if you can just take one step in front of the other and just keep going, even if you don't know where you're going, life can be beautiful. That, God can use our lowest moments and turn them into our greatest gifts. And so I think that's going to be really encouraging no matter what you're going through in your life. And something else that's really powerful about the book that I'm really proud about with my wife, Emily, is that she opens up about her struggles with anxiety and depression, something that she hates talking about, but she knows that there's so many people out there struggling with the same sort of mental illness. And that although you can see my challenges, everyone can see them, I can't hide them. There's no opportunity for me to hide what I'm going through, but you can hide anxiety and depression. And that if we can treat everyone like you would treat seeing someone with their struggles, hopefully would treat Emily and like other people dealing with this mental illness, I think this world would be a better place. And it also just she shares how she was able to get through it which I hope will be encouraging to a lot of people facing anxiety and depression.
Now, when I was researching you and your incredible wife, Emily, I discovered that apparently, because you've got a lot of time on your hands, I mean, after working with 17 kids in the foster care program and adopting 5 kids, apparently you had a lot of time on your hands. So you started this wheelchair camp because apparently you have nothing going on other than writing the book, the 17 foster kids, the 5 kids you've adopted. Tell us what inspired you to start this wheelchair camp other than having nothing going on.
Yeah, well, it was actually, when I go back to my injury, I was thinking my life is over. Like, the fun is over. Like, what am I going to be able to do? Like, I can't do anything. Like, I enjoy the outdoors. I love being active and competitive. I was thinking automatically that I can't do any of that. And it wasn't until about 2014 where I was invited to go to this wheelchair adaptive sports camp. And so I went to the adaptive sports camp, and it just opened my eyes to what I can do. Like, I can horseback ride, I can do archery, I can do water skiing, snow skiing, zip lining, and just all these different sports and all these different ways they can make it work. And I was just thinking, wow, like, this is something that more people need to experience. More people need to realize, no matter what your physical challenges may be, like, you can still have a fun and have a thrill. And it just gives you then that confidence at camp, and it carries over to everything you do in your life. So I knew I had to get more people to a camp. And so I already had a foundation started to help other people with disabilities with their recovery, but I always wanted to do my own camp. Well, this week we're having first ever the Chris Norton Family Foundation wheelchair camp. And so it's been going really well. We have 25 campers and their families, and they're all here, and we pay for everything. So it's all free once they get here, the food and all the activities. So we're having a blast.
Now, I know there's listeners out there that would like to maybe sponsor your camp, maybe donate to the camp. There's listeners out there that would maybe like to hire you to come speak to their organization. I know that you do speaking events. Let's start with the donation component. We had a speaker. And Paul, you were there. Justin Wren spoke.
Yeah, he was great.
And Justin Wren is an MMA fighter who donates all of his winnings to provide fresh drinking water to people in third world countries. And we raised thousands and thousands of dollars at the in-person workshop here. If the listeners out there want to get involved or want to learn more about donating to your cause, how can they do that? What's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Go to chrisnorton.org. If you go to chrisnorton.org, that will give you the page to go towards my speaking, to go towards the foundation, go towards the book, the film also that we have coming out. So that's like kind of your main landing page to learn everything about me and all the different projects I have going on, and how you can make a donation right from that page.
Paul, I know you have a tough interrogation, paint him into the corner, a Chris Norton question here. So feel free to interrogate our guest.
All right. Yeah, Chrissy, I've coached all 3 of my boys, and they played football at the earliest age, and one of them played a little college. I played a little college football, and I see the potential for injury. Do you harbor any ill feelings towards football? Are you active in the sport? Do you? I mean, like this year, I know they changed, or the last couple of years, they've changed the kickoff rule to where they're really trying to stop kickoff returns. So, what's your thoughts on the game of football?
Yeah, I mean, it's a violent game. It's a very physical game. And that's, a big part of why, I loved it and enjoyed it. But I have no ill feelings against football. Like, what happened to me, it's such a rare thing to have happen. I mean, you're more likely to have something like this happen to you like in a car or on a bike. But to actually play football is something that I never imagined happening. So that's just, the percentages are so low. I know for me, like if I had a son, I would let him play football still. I mean, I think concussions scare me more than spinal cord injuries though. So that's my biggest concern with football is the concussion, the brain aspect, because that's just happens so much more frequently. And I think for me, I would probably start my son out like maybe in middle school. Not that I have all the answers and know how, but that's just my feelings on it. And I think they are trying to make it safer, but at the same time, the more safe that you make it, the more invincible that you feel. And I knew I felt invincible, like nothing bad could happen to me. So I don't know. it's a tough thing, but it's a great game that taught me so many valuable lessons and like made me the kind of man that I am today. So it's hard to ever think what I'd be like without football and those values.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know I personally, it's just a scary thought. I know I remember I played corner, and I was like you. I'm 5'9", but I'm a missile. I didn't care. And I had a situation where a guy, big, he played Division I college football, came across the middle, tight end, and he caught the ball, and I hit him across. Thankfully, I got my head across, but I didn't get up. I got knocked out. So it is a violent game, but in just little bitty things. But like you say, there's people that could walk out in the street and get hit by a car. So I love the game myself too. I love your attitude. And also what I'm hearing is, people that go through struggle end up really, they can either have a massive impact on the people that are around them that hear their story, or they can, kind of roll up into a ball in the corner. And I really appreciate you, my friend, for the what you're sharing and what you're bringing to the world.
Now, Chris, I like to watch a lot of NFL mic'd, the mic'd series where they do the NFL and you can watch what the players are saying. And Tim Tebow mic'd that year on the Broncos, you'll have to let him know. My wife and I were like crying. It's so awesome. It's so awesome. And you have a documentary. My understanding is you have a documentary that's been made about your life. Is that a tearjerker too? Because between Tim Tebow mic'd and your video, I might have to rehydrate myself.
Yeah, you might have to hydrate yourself. I watched the filmmakers showed me like the first 33 minutes of it, and there's a couple times, especially my parents, they get me. They choke me up, and I mean I knew what I'm gonna say. I knew everything that I've gone through. Like this is not emotional for me, but just hearing it from other perspectives and how it's affected them, like that can really pull on your heartstrings.
Chris, I appreciate you being on the show more than I could possibly tell you. I think it's just awesome what you're doing. I know there's somebody out there listening today that needed to hear this story, somebody out there that needed to get this encouragement. I would encourage everybody out there, if you know of anybody who's been impacted by a spinal cord injury or any type of it's devastating. And I would encourage you to pick up a copy of this book, The Longest Yards, the 7 Longest Yards, because this book could be an inspiration for them or maybe someone they know. Pick up that book today. And Chris, if you had to give the listeners out there just one final little push to go out there and buy that book, because somebody out there is going, I want to buy the book, but I have to go all the way to Amazon and click that button. I got to go all the way there and click the button. I mean, could you kind of encourage the listeners out there who are just one mouse click away, but they're going to have to, delay gratification and invest $17.70 in the book. What encouragement would you have for all the listeners to encourage them to go out there and buy that book?
Man, I think this book will be a kind of a blueprint to how you can take life's lowest moments and turn them into your greatest blessings. And that we're all going to go through hard things in life, but we can actually use them for our good and our benefit. And I think this book will just open your eyes to what's possible with your life. And I knew for me and for Emily, there's many times where we thought our lives were over, things were just completely done, but we just kept going. We found that courage and strength to move forward. And we're thankful that, God has a better plan for us than the plan we made for ourselves. So I would encourage you to go pick up the book because it's gonna push you to keep moving forward.
Chris, thank you. You are a great American, and I hope you have an incredible day, my friend.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much for having me on the show. It's been fun.
And now, without any further ado, we like to end each and every show with a boom. Paul Hood with Hood CPAs, are you prepared to bring the boom?
I am ready, my friend.
I'm ready to bring the boom. You're ready to bring the boom. We're all ready to bring the boom. And now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom. All right, let's just say that you're out there listening today and you have a website for your business. The question I would have for you is, are you getting the most number of leads possible? Are you ranking high? Wow.
Touching the canvas.
Can't feel my face. Or are you ranking
low
in the Google search engine results? Again, I ask, are you ranking high? Or are you ranking low on the Google search engine search results? Take a moment today and do a Google search for the keywords that you want to come up top for and see where you are ranking. We have Josh Spurl, a CPA from Canada, and we have Dr. Timothy Johnson here from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Josh Spurl, how in the heck are you?
Doing pretty good, Clay. Yourself?
I'm doing well, man. Doing well here. We're not broadcasting from the Man Cave studios as normal, so we got a little bit of background noise there to contend with, but we're here, and I wanted to see if you could share with the Thrive Nation approximately how long you and I have been working together and how that's impacted the number of inbound leads that you're generating as a result of your Google search engine ranking and internet marketing.
Well, we've been working together, Clay, now for almost a year. It was about a year ago I came out to my first conference, and then we started with the coaching program shortly after that. And, our Google leads have gone from, something that we would generate, maybe 1 or 2 or 3 leads a year to, we're talking about 3 to 9 leads every single week.
And now we have Dr. Timothy Johnson in the box from Alabama, Tuscaloosa.
Yeah, so I'm at Southern Eye Consultants. It's in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. We heard about you on the podcast, and I had a lot of trepidation at first about getting involved, just making sure it was legit. But all my expectations have been exceeded.
What concerns did you have about our legitness or lack thereof?
I was just concerned about back-end upselling, what I was getting into.
That's what I found. My entire career,
Yeah.
I had been. Had you guys been to, Dr. Tim? Had you been to other workshops or had other industry coaching before? Because I had hired a lot of them, frankly, and I just found I spent. I would be lying if I said hundreds of thousands. It's been more than that.
Oh, we hired somebody to do our website right before we found you.
Yeah,
And it was 3 or 4 months of your coaching service, and we still haven't launched that website yet.
oh, beautiful,
yeah.
beautiful. So if somebody out there's thinking about filling out the form, if someone's thinking about emailing us to info@thrivetimeshow.com, it's info@thrivetimeshow.com, and they have a little bit of hesitation, just a little bit, I don't know, just a little bit, what advice would you have for them, Dr. Tim?
First of all, come to one of the conferences. You'll see that he may dress like Bill Belichick, but my wife's a Pats fan, so that was a real selling point.
Nice.
She thought you were a hobo, but I said, no, he's just Bill Belichick. She goes, okay, you can go.
Nice.
But it's also month to month, so try it, and if you don't like it, cancel.
That deserves a mega point. So again, where has your sales gone up? Have you increased your sales? I mean, where's your financial? I'm not asking for the hard number here, but as a percentage, how much are you up since you started with the program? 4 months ago versus now?
Our sales have gone up 20%. We're looking to scale Southern Eye Consultants, and just the number of patients who come in because they found us on Google has gone up a lot. I text you once a week to say you paid for yourself just in somebody walking in. So.
Oh, Billy.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Again, if you're out there today and you feel stuck, just email us to info@thrivetimeshow.com, info@thrivetimeshow.com. Let us begin to do a deep dive analysis on your website. We'll tell you what's wrong with it. We're going to do a 37-point audit of your website. Our member of our team will call you. They'll go over it with you. They'll break it down. You'll understand what you need to do to improve. I'll give you the final words here, guys. So start with you, Captain Spurl, Josh Spurl, CPA. As Captain Canada and as a man who's been to 2 workshops now, we got an audience, picture 500,000 people listening here. What is the advice that you would tell them?
I think they got to come out to a workshop. It's the best one that I've ever seen. I find that most of the workshops I've been to, you're sitting around all day for one good idea, and you're getting a good idea every single hour at these workshops.
Dr. Tim, what is the word of encouragement, maybe discouragement, maybe the motivation, maybe the verbal tasering? What advice would you give for the listeners out there today?
I'd say the worst idea you can do is not starting now. Just call and start now, and you'll be better off for it.
You heard them right there. Thrive Nation, go to info@thrivetimeshow.com. Email us to info@thrivetimeshow.com. Allow us to do a free 37-point analysis of your website. We'll tell you what's wrong. We'll tell you how to fix it. If you're not ranking high enough in those Google search engine results, it will literally cost your company millions and millions and millions of dollars. But don't take my word for it. Go to thrivetimeshow.com and click on the testimonials button. And as of the time of this recording, we have over 1,000 video reviews from my clients I've had from 2008 up until now, from conference attendees. You're just an email away from becoming a game-changing success story. Email us today at info@thrivetimeshow.com. And we like to end every show and every shameless testimonial session with a boom. And so now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom.